Welcome back to my series where I'm ranking aliens and monsters throughout the entirety of Doctor Who. Today we're going to be talking about the 1980s. Let's not waste any time and get straight into it. First up is the Foamasi, and I put them straight into the good category. There is something about the Foamasi that I just adore. I think they're really funny, but I also think they're a really well executed design. And I also think it comes down to the direction of the story as well. There's some really interesting shots with them and stuff like that. The way they move is really interesting as well. I feel like every part of their costume has been really thought out and really well designed, and I just think they're great. Did somebody mention Foamasi? I think I would probably rank them higher if I was more interested in their characters, but I think because it's such a great design, I put it in the good category. Next up is Miglos, and I put him in the okay category. Dude's just a cactus. But I think there's something simple about that I like. And I think the makeup design where they put the cactus pins all over people, I think that looks really neat. Tom Baker looks great in that performance. But yeah, there's something about it that doesn't really excite me that much. So he's not ranked very high. Next up is the Marshmen. And unfortunately, I put them not for me. I've never been a huge fan of this design. I can see when you're drawing this, I can see how it works and how creepy they'd be. But I think there's something missing in their execution. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's shot in broad daylight. There's a scene, they're coming through like an emergency exit or something, and there's like fog and stuff like that, and they look really great in that. I think for Marshmen, they needed to be a bit more slimy. I think they needed to be more like gooey and gross and maybe some like shining red eyes or something. They needed something a little bit extra. And I think they would have worked for me. But yeah, at the moment, I just don't really love them. Next up, we have the Great Vampires, and I put them in the good category. It feels weird saying great vampires and then good category. I think it's a classic interpretation of vampire myth, making them more alien and stuff like that. I think that's interesting, but still keeping what makes vampires so beautiful is that romantic costuming and stuff like that. So I'm happy they retained that. They weren't trying to reinvent the wheel with the vampires here in Doctor Who. They wanted to do something simple with it, and I think they did it really well. So that's why I put it in the good category. Next up, we have the Tharals from Warriors Gate, and I put it in the not for me category. I just think this looks just like a hairy guy. As you can tell, I'm not really much of a season 18 fan, but as this goes on, I promise there'll be more positive things to say. Next up is the Eubankans. I think that's how you say it, and I put them in the okay category. These little frogmen from Fort of Doomsday. I think they're a well-executed design, but I do find them a little bit dull. Next up, we have the Kinda. I put them in the great category. I really enjoy the Kinda. I think they're probably one of the 80s Doctor Who monsters that really, really shine. They're so much more experimental and, using dreams and stuff like that and how they take control of Tegan. They feel like they have a real stake and real menace. I think that's why they are so well loved and people love Kinda and Snake Dance. I think you either love those stories or you hate them. And I have a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes I love them and sometimes I don't. But I think at their core and what they're trying to do really is interesting and great. And I'd love to see the Kinda return. I'd love to see more stories like that. But I think it takes a certain sort of writer who can really pull it off. Next up, we have the Pterleptos, and I put them straight into the great category. I think this is another incredible creature design for Doctor Who. I think this is one of the best when it comes to creature design, the way that their mouths move and a bit of more of an animatronic to it. They feel a bit more real. In many ways, it feels like they would have done with the Silurians if they were invented in the 80s. And this feels like the type of what we would have gotten, even though we do see the Silurians later on and they don't look as good as this. But, I think if the brief was lizard men, this is possibly what the Silurians would have looked like. I think it's a really great design and I just think it's really beautiful. And I love how different ones have different coloring and stuff like that as well. And I just think they're an interesting adversary for the Doctor. Next up is the Plasmatons, and I put them in the not for me category. You could tell they ran out of money. Yeah, this is a rough era for Doctor Who monsters. In the 60s and 70s, we're already putting people in the best and the great categories at this point, and I've barely even touched there. I felt like I was being generous with the Pterleptos, putting them in great. This is a weird time for Doctor Who, I think. I don't think this is really the monster era compared to the 60s and 70s. I think they're really known as being like, wow, big heavy hitter monsters. But, also during this time period, a lot of returning monsters have come back. Stuff like the Cybermen and stuff like that, and the Silurians and Sea Devils, and I'm not talking about them in this list because I've already talked about them. So maybe that's why the monsters feel a bit meh, but yeah, not impressed. Next up is the Xeraphins, and I've also put them in the not for me category. It's just a guy in a silver suit, and they've just drawn some green lines on it so it keys out in the green screen. Doesn't work for me, babe. Next, I'm going to talk about Omega's pal here, and I put him in the good category. I've already talked about Omega, so I'm not going to talk about him, but I'm going to talk about his buddy. I like this dog. It's like Omega's pet dog, and he's like a little dinosaur guy. He's so goofy. Should he be in the good category? No. But is he? Yes, because I love him. I think he's really cute. He's sweet. He's just a sweet little guy. It's not his fault. He didn't mean to kill those little gay twinks in that little cave. He was just doing what he was told. He's just a little baby. He's a damn dog. He doesn't know any better. I forgive him, even if he is homophobic. Next up, we have the Garm, and I put him in the okay category. Just a damn dirty dog. Just a damn dirty dog and red glowing eyes. I think he's cute. I like that he carries people around. Girl, I have nothing to say about this damn dog. This era is not the era for monsters. Oh, next up is the Murka. Baby, I'm struggling. This is rough. the karate scene. What were they thinking? It's like a pantomime horse, but he's like a little lizard man. I love him. And he's, no, I'm literally crying. Oh my God. What am I supposed to do with this guy? The design department, Zach Awesome. What is going on? No, I admire that they think they could pull this off, but good for them. Okay, babe, we gotta move on. Okay. The Raston Warrior Robot. Okay, I'm putting him in the okay category. The fact that we're like, wow, this guy's really good is embarrassing for this era. Because there's a guy in a grey leotard suit with like a silver plain face. But he's cool. He's fast and he like jumps around and he shoots little rods at people. Like, it's good. He's a real threat. He's really good. Sorry, I'm still laughing at the burger. I have my iPad down here and I just keep looking at the tier list and it's just this guy. Do I need to take a break or something? Sorry, no, I'm back. I'm here. Okay. Next up is the Tractators. I put them in the good category because I think this is a really good design. I think they're creepy and cool, and I like that they're sluggy and they move around. Sorry, this video has lost all credibility because I'm laughing at the fucking Murka. Okay, we're back. Let it go, shake it off. I think it's interesting that they thought about bringing the Tractators back because I don't really know what you'd want to do with them. I think they definitely work as like a once-off monster. Oh, holy moly. The Gastropods, I put them in the not for me category, would you believe? Wow, this is a lot of not for me. He feels like a reject design from Alice in Wonderland. He doesn't feel real. I don't trust this man. The Gastropod is a lie. Something to think about. Next up is the Cryons, and they are also not for me. Pantomime is the first word that comes to mind when I think about this. The silly voices, the mask just doesn't look good, and the costume just looks really cheap. It's a no for me, dog. Next up is Seal, and I put him in the great category. I think Seal is one of the better characters in 80s Doctor Who. His design is really great. He's really slimy and gross, but it's the performance that really sells it. The flickering of the tongue and the evil laughter and just the pure evil of this character just so shines. And, having this person who is just this massive, big capitalist is just all what the 80s is all about. Capitalism was on the rise, so this is the time for it. This is the time to have this type of character in Doctor Who. And I think Seal was a great character and a great design. I think all the elements came together to create something really, really good. Is he in the best of the best? No, I don't think he's someone that I'm dying to see return again. I think he's great for this era of Doctor Who, but he's not a Dalek. He's not the Zygons. He doesn't rank that high. He's great though, but he's not up that high. Next up is the Rani, and the Rani's great. Love the Rani. Kate O'Mara is incredible. This is like camp excellence. So camp. I like the idea of them being like, all right, we want to do a female Time Lord like the Master, but we want to make it different. She's a scientist. So she's like an evil scientist Time Lord. And it gives her something different to do. And it makes her motive different, where, the Master's not interested in experiments and stuff like that. And it's interesting that she was teamed up with the Master in her first ever story. That's really interesting and weird. Like, why couldn't they just let her have her own story? But it's nice seeing those two pair up as well. So, it's fine. And, as the series went on, we've got 2 new Ranis in the new series. I don't really see Mrs. Flood as being the Rani because she doesn't act like her at all. She doesn't seem to be a scientist in any way, shape or form. And she kind of becomes like a little sidekick, Igor-esque character to the new Rani. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think Mrs. Flood was ever really intended to be the Rani when she was first being written because she doesn't act like her whatsoever. It's so weird. I don't really get what they were going for, but whatever. Yeah, it's totally fine. Yep. Next up, we have the Androgs. I put them in the good category. I think this, as a monster, is really creepy. Having this guy who just wants to eat everyone is just so repulsive. I find like watching people eat on screen is really gross. When it gets so slimy and disgusting, it really ignites that ick in me. And so I think the Androgons like tapping into that is what makes them a really effective monster for me. I think their design is fine. I think on Patrick Troughton, it looked a bit goofy, but I can see what they were going for. And so I'm fine with it. Next up, we have the Borad, and I put him in the okay category. I think it's a really well executed design, and I think his character's interesting, but not something that overly impresses me. I think it's just a really well executed design of the brief. It's just done by professionals who know what they're doing. But yeah, there's nothing really too exciting about the Borad that I really want to rank him higher. Next up, we have the Valiard, and I put him in the best category. I like that we don't fully understand who the Valiard really is. We've been given hints. Is he a future incarnation of the Doctor? Is he a alternative version of the Doctor? Is he like a splinter? Is he something else? Like who really is he? But his motive is very specific. Like he wants the Doctor's lives and he will kill him in order to take them, And having the trial setting is really interesting, and I love that courtroom drama. And I think the Valiard is a really great menace for the Doctor. And I think it really elevates the 6th Doctor by having him have someone this strong as his own personal nemesis. Because the Doctor is only as good as his villain and vice versa, I think he deserves a place in the best of the best for sure. I would love to see the Valiard return in some way, but I'm not really sure how you would do it. Because I think once you answer the mystery of who the Valiard is, maybe the mystery and the intrigue behind him would disappear. I think not knowing entirely who he is makes him better. I don't know. Next up, we have the L3 robot, and I put him in the okay category. I've always loved this guy. I think he's really cute. And when he holds his little briefcase, like he's going to school, he's so cute. I love this little guy. I trust him. He's fine. But he's fine. Next up is the Vervoids, and I put them in the okay category because this design is so insane. I do not know how this made it to television. This is the most phallic design in Doctor Who's history. It's incredible. I'm in shock that it made it to screen. I'm shocked it made it past the design. It's just like, these guys in Alpha Centauri need to hang out. They need to hang out. It's crazy. Sounds crazy. And indeed it was. But I think the actual characters of them are interesting. So yeah, it gets an okay pass. Next up is the Tetraps, and I put them in the not for me category. These are just a bit too pantomime for me. On a stage play for a bunch of kids, they look great. But on BBC One, on national television, not so much. They just don't look good. Next up, we have the Cleaners from Paradise Towers, and I put them in the okay category. I think this is like an 80s interpretation of the War Machines. They have very similar vibes. They move in the same way. They've got little arm thingies. And it's a totally fine design. It is just serviceable. Next up, we have the Dragon from Dragonfire, and it is unfortunately not for me. This is one of those designs where the head is really well done, but the rest of the body feels like an afterthought. Having that huge, massive head on this skinny little body, it just makes it look really silly, and it feels like a really bad cosplay of like a xenomorph. I get what they were going for, but yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Wow, this era is rough. I am so sorry I'm being so negative. Next up, it's the Candyman, and I put him in the great category. I know this is like, most people don't like the Candyman, but I always have. I think he has a great voice. I love the design. It's so creepy and sticky and gross. I think for me, I hate sticky things. And the way the Candyman's like, it's all dripping and I think it sets something off for me. I like how deliciously camp he is, but it still has a sense of menace. Like he is like chopping people up and cooking them and stuff like that. You know, it's very like Hansel and Gretel. You know, it's very that vibe. So I do like the Candyman. I think he deserves to be up there in the great category, even if people don't agree with me. But it's my list. My list, my rules, babe. It is what it is. Next up is the Chief Clown, and I put him in the great category. There is something about this classic clown design that I think is brilliant. You know, David Bowie-esque type of clown. You know, very 1940s, 1920s inspired clowns are the ones that really like stick out to me. I think they're much creepier. And it's also the performance here. You know, when he's doing all the hand gestures and stuff like that, there's something about his performance that makes him scarier. Yeah, and I'm really surprised Doctor Who hasn't really done clowns before then. Maybe it was the 80s where people started getting really scared of clowns. Maybe people weren't scared of clowns so much before then. I don't know. But yeah, there's something off about this guy. And that's why I think he's so brilliant. Next up, we have the Gods of Ragnarok, and I put them in the good category. I think they're fine. I think they're a good design. I think I like the power they exude. And I think there's something interesting to be done here with the Gods of Ragnarok. And I'm surprised that they haven't really returned. You know, the idea of these gods who just want to be entertained, just want to watch things, that could easily translate to television or film or social media or video games. Like there's a lot of like different areas where these guys turning up would make sense. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Maybe one day, who knows? Next up, we have the Destroyer, and I put him in the great category. I've mainly put him here because I think it's one of the best executed designs in 80s Doctor Who. I think the way that he moves his face and the growling and all the animatronic type stuff is just really well done. He seems to have a lot of power and a lot of menace, and I think it's just a really well done design. And it's one of those cases where it's like, this is a once off. There's no need for this guy to ever come back. What are they going to do with him? You know, but I think he looks really, really good. She looks good. Next up are the Hemovs. This is another incredible design. This season has really, really good character designs. You know, they're really pushing what type of aliens they can create. You know, they're making stuff that's really bulky and really detailed and gross and slimy. And I think the Hemovs just look so great. It's such a great interpretation of the vampires. You know, they're so different and, you know, making them like ocean and corpsey, and yeah, they just look really sick. It just makes it feel like Doctor Who had like a budget increase. You know, if you're looking at a few seasons ago, like comparing the Hemovs to the Tetraps, you know, like within a couple of seasons, it's like you've really upped your game. You can do so much better now. Like the type of stuff that you can pull off. Or like the dragon from Dragonfire, you know, it's like night and day. You know, this is completely different. And, you know, the Hemovs, you know, you're seeing them in broad daylight and they look great. You know, that's an impressive monster design. If you can look good in flat lighting, that's impressive. So yeah, I'm really impressed by this design. And last but not least, it's the Cheetah people, and I put them in the not for me category. I have never been convinced by the Cheetah people. I think they're the part of survival that really lets the story down. I think they look really goofy. I just don't find it very believable at all. It feels like I'm watching Cats or something. I don't know. I think there's just some type of monsters that are really difficult to pull off on screen. I think it really comes down to like fur. I just don't love it. Sorry. And that's my 80s ranking list. Oh baby, that's rough. That is rough. I've never seen so many in the not for me category. I'm going to get destroyed in the comment section. I am so sorry. But this era is just not the monster era. I love the 80s Doctor Who, but I don't think they're known for their monsters and villains so much. I think during this era, you were really excited to see the Daleks and Sidemen and stuff like that come back because like they're just better monsters than what we had for the rest of the show. I just think that. I'm a bit disappointed by my ranking, to be honest. This is sad. But the Murka gave me a really good laugh. I don't think I've laughed that hard. The screenshot I've chosen is just so goofy. I love him so much. But yeah. Do you guys think I should put the Murka in the best category? Maybe I should move him up. No, he's gonna stay. He's bad. He's not good. But yeah, what do you think of my tier list? Let me know in the comment section below how wrong I am, and tell me how much you love the Murka. Alright, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna keep laughing. I'm not making any more videos today. I'm just gonna keep laughing. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Josh Nair's YouTube channel. Alright, cut the cameras. We're gonna go, babe.